go, Christina, in 5. Good morning. Welcome to Convince Me, presented by BetMGM. In case you haven't heard, the biggest game in the history of football is happening tonight. We got what you think about that game. We got what our experts think about that game. We got all the picks. We got all the data. We got all the research. We got everything you want to win on a Sunday. None of the fluff that means nothing on this show right now. Chris Raybon, Sean Koerner, Simon Hunter, Samantha Previte on the Fantasy News Desk, Darren Rovell on the Action Network News Desk. We are going to go through everything. We're going to start with the props. Sean Koerner, you are doing so well on the props. It's almost unfair that you give this stuff away for free on the biggest, baddest, fastest growing sports betting pregame show in the history of the world. Go.
Well, let's have some fun today. Let's go over 305.5 passing yards for Tom Brady tonight. And, there are times when it's important to treat a player prop differently. I lean on my player projections 99% of the time when it comes to these things, but there are exceptions when we have to throw that out the window. And tonight is one of those times. Some examples would be Kobe Bryant's final game. The prop for him was like 19.5 points scored. I max bet the over wherever I could that day. And then he ended with 60. That was easy. Last year, week 17, Justin Jefferson, he needed 110 yards to break the rookie single season record for receiving yards. I told Raybon and Friedman I would bet this up to 115.5. And it was 75.5. He flew over. He ended with 133. Tonight, not only is Tom Brady making his return to Foxborough, which we all know, but he's also, 68 yards away from passing up Drew Brees for the all-time passing record. If you don't think Tom Brady doesn't want to go off tonight, you're crazy. So this is one of those props we're throwing everything out the window. And I would bet this up to 330. I was telling Raybon I would even take it like up to 350. That's how much I love the over. It seems like a square play, but you'd be surprised how many people overlook things like this. Like, the motivation's there. He's Tom Brady. He's the GOAT. Yes, it's a tougher matchup, but I think he'll overcome that. So I'm hammering the over here today.
Over, you'd go up to 350. By the way, how great is the NFL? How great is the NFL that they are able to time it so the Bucks visit the Patriots, Tom Brady going back to Foxborough, and oh, by the way, let's make sure that it's the game in which he can set the all-time yardage record for passing in the NFL. God love the NFL. God love you, the fan. If you reply to @Action Network HQ with the total number of yards you think Tom Brady is going to have, you can win some cash. Tom Brady doesn't have to be the only winner tonight. You guys can win as well. Simon, I feel like following up Koerner on this prop is so anticlimactic. But go ahead. Give me what you got.
Hey guys, looking for a boring prop? I'm your guy. James Conner, under 30.5 rushing yards. Love the matchup with the Rams defense. I just feel like this is going to be a game where the Cardinals will be a pass-heavy team. We just saw the Rams shut down the running backs of the Buccaneers all across the board. This just seems like Chase Edmonds will be the running back for the Cardinals this week. So I think I'm getting a really good number here, taking the under 30.5 rushing yards for James Conner.
I might have been laughing too hard when you said it. So just to reiterate, James Conner under 30.5 rushing yards today for Arizona. Raybon, are you doing Ryan Tannehill over 1.5 passing touchdowns today?
Oh, that's an auto bet, but I'm not doing it for the show after going 0-2. The first 2 weeks, I'm going Robbie Anderson over 46.5 receiving yards. This is another one where there are some kind of things working in his favor. Outside of just a number, although I do have this projected at like 58 and would take it to 54.5. First of all, Dallas, Trevon Diggs is just playing out of his mind. So Dallas is number 1 in DVOA against number 1 wide receivers, but they're dead last, number 32 against number 2 wide receivers. Everything's funneling, it's going to funnel away from DJ Moore in this game, I think, and to Robbie. You also have the coaches talking about, Robbie starting slow, only 5 catches in 3 games. We need to get him involved. They've had the long week to kind of craft up some extra plays to scheme him the ball. and they're going to need him in this game because remember, the Panthers, they played Davis Mills, they played Zach Wilson, they played Jameis Winston in a game that they ran away with. So this is the first time where playing a quality Dallas team, they're probably going to have negative game script and actually need to throw. So Robbie Anderson's actually been at 55 yards or better in 58% of his games as a Carolina Panther. And I expect him to crush this prop and get over 46.5 today.
Well, listen, I can tell you right now that I know for a fact Simon, Hunter, and I on the favorites pod love the Panthers plus 4.5. I know for a fact that Simon Hunter's professional betting buddies all called him this week after the podcast and said, we hate your play. So I am hoping against hope that Robbie Anderson goes off against the Cowboys, not just for more than 46.5 receiving yards, but for many, many touchdowns, and the Panthers make it an easy win over the Cowboys. But guys, I don't even need a secondary debate. If I don't go with Tom Brady over 305.5 passing yards, if I don't go, if the books made this 345.5 passing yards right now, Sean Koerner has me so psyched up for Tom Brady and the Bucs. I cannot ignore it. I'm going with Sean Koerner. It's a mistake to go against Sean Koerner because he wins so much. Give me Tom Brady over 305.5 passing yards. And don't forget, reply to @Action Network HQ with the total number of yards you think Tom Brady will throw for, and you can win $100. Darren Rovell, I can guarantee when I go to you at the Action Network news desk right now, there will be some news about the Bucs and the Patriots.
Well, I think people are so excited about the game that they're going to make a lot of mistakes betting. It's like, hey, we're watching the game anyway. Well, we might as well bet. Let's just give you the numbers here at BetMGM. The most bet on games are obviously Bucs Patriots, then Bills Texans, which is shocking considering that the number got up to as high as it did, the highest that we've seen this season at 17. And then the Titans Jets are the third because no one believes Zach Wilson or the Jets could do anything, especially after you convinced me last week to bet the Jets in a gross fashion. And it was gross and horrible. Most bet on teams, Buccaneers, this is tickets, 83% on the Bucs, 75% on the Titans and Bills. And then the most bet on by handle, 92% on the Bucs. This is if you look at every single sports book with the exception of Caesars, because they took a $500,000 bet, and we'll talk about that later, on the Bucs. Everyone's at 90, 92, 93% on the Bucs. Chiefs 89%, despite the fact that they haven't covered since the Mastodon ruled the earth. And then the Titans at 77%. Finally, weather at Foxborough, since Chris Raybon has reminded me that now is the time of the season that I have to become a weather reporter. It's looking okay right now, according to my Dark Sky app, which is better than weather.com on paid advertisement. 30% chance of rain at kickoff. To me, that's like, and doesn't look like the wind is too crazy. So Tom Brady will throw for 750 yards.
I really hope our new sales team is watching this show so they can remind me on Monday that we should go do a weather segment sponsored by Dark Sky. And Raybon is 100% correct. Raybon's become very pushy this season and telling a lot of people what to do. All of a sudden, he's got this newfound confidence. I love it. Let's get to our best spread bets. You talked about the Jets, Darren. I know for a fact a lot of us love the Jets this week. That number has moved in a big, big way. Will they be on anybody's board today? Sean Koerner, you're up first.
Let's go with the Vikings +1 today. This is a perfect buy low opportunity on the Vikings here. They're 1-2 on the year despite having a +9 point differential. That's the highest among all teams with a record below 500. And both of their losses came down to a field goal. One was the field goal in overtime, and then when they missed that 37-yarder, I believe it was. So they could easily be 3-0 right now. And what would the spread be? Vikings -1.5, Vikings -2. And Kirk Cousins, he's playing out of his mind right now. He has the third best PFF grade on the season. Basically, any metric you look at, he's basically playing as a top 5 quarterback. He has arguably the best wide receiver duo in the league, in my opinion, with Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. So I think he'll keep it up here. The market's probably overreacting a bit to the Browns convincing one over your Bears last week. All the attention was on their 9 sacks and, Myles Garrett. But the Browns have offensive line issues as well. I consider them to be the best offensive line in football, but 3 of their starters have been banged up. And last week they allowed 18 total pressures. Baker Mayfield got sacked 5 times, so they have some O-line issues right now. They're playing less than 100%. So I think this is a good time to fade the Browns, although I do consider them a top 10 team. So it's no surprise that we're seeing over 60% of the action on the Browns here, but I'm going with the Vikings +1. And I would bet this up to Vikings -1, -1.5.
I love this bet. I love it. I love it so much. I think it's the exact right side. Simon, what do you got, man?
Yeah, this line's been moving. We loved this when it opened up and it's moved to +1. We loved it at +1. Now it's back down to -1, which shows the pros have come in on Denver. Great number here. It's a little scary where we're going against Lamar. And just 2 weeks ago, I was on here preaching about you got to take Lamar as a dog. And now Lamar is a dog. Just a terrible position for them. Back-to-back huge emotional wins for this Ravens team. Now they're going on the road to Mile High once again. We talk about Teddy Bridgewater. He covers. He's 3-0 this year. We love Teddy covers. And the man we're not talking about, Victor Mick Fangio, the head coach of the Denver Broncos. Love the guy's name. Love him as a coach. One of the best defensive minds in football, especially the last handful of years. He's just been one of these guys I love watching film on his defensive schemes. If you're a nerd and you love watching football games, you're seeing the best athlete in the world in Lamar Jackson play against one of the smartest defensive minds in Denver. So I love this game. I love this matchup, and it skews heavy towards Denver. This should be -3, still a -1. I'm happy taking this number.
Well, look, the other thing that we haven't talked about is A, Lamar Jackson might be a little dinged up, and B, if any defensive line is built to counteract what Lamar Jackson can do, it's the Broncos defensive line, which has a ton of speed other than Von Miller, but he's pretty effective in a variety of other ways. And you mentioned nerds. Dude, this is the show for nerds. It's like you're literally preaching to the choir on a Sunday morning. There's more chances there are more people watching this show than going to church right now. Raybon, what do you got?
Well, first of all, I don't know about that. I think there's still a lot of people at church, but I'm going ugly. Like, let's forget these one point spreads that Sean and Simon are talking about. Let's go with a 6.5 point underdog as the Pittsburgh Steelers go to Lambeau. I am betting against Aaron Rodgers and the Pack in Lambeau because we've simply seen this movie too many times before with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They come off a bad loss. They're an underdog. No one believes in them. And they just surprise everyone. Mike Tomlin, as an underdog off a loss in his career, 13-5, 72% against the spread. Mike Tomlin as an underdog versus an equal or a better opponent, 27-6-1 since 2008 against the spread. He's covering 82% of the time in a 34-game sample in this spot. The Steelers are getting Watt back. They're getting Highsmith back. They'll have Deontay and Juju. I know Claypool's out, but they have enough to keep this one close or pull off the straight-up upset. And this is a Mike Tomlin spot. He's a rah-rah coach. That's why they lose at home to Cincinnati as a favorite. But remember, this is the same Pittsburgh Steelers team that beat Buffalo, who is now a 17-point favorite against Houston this weekend and had a shutout in week 2, one of the best teams in the NFL, AFC Championship game a season ago. They beat them in week 1. This is not an inept Steelers team, even though it may look that way some weeks. I expect a big effort for Steelers. Great spot to buy low on them. Steelers +6.5 at Green Bay.
All right, you threw out a lot of data, a lot of stats, everything trending in Mike Tomlin's, rah-rah Mike Tomlin's direction. Simon, you and I have talked a lot about this game. Given the fact that it's Big Ben, who's a little bit washed, who in the entirety of the time that Tomlin has had this team, they've been a great running team. Are you for or against the Steelers at +6.5?
We still love them. I mean, obviously, when we were talking about it was at +7. That's a great, sweet, round number. It's down to +6 now, a lot of books, though. So you'll take that +6.5 with the hook. Again, this isn't a bet on Roethlisberger. We're simply betting on this defense really showing up and carrying this game. People keep talking about, well, all those numbers Chris just read off, that was with Roethlisberger in his prime. No, they had backup QBs a lot of those times. They were a big underdog. So that's just one of these things you hold your nose. You take Pittsburgh in this spot every time.
Yeah, I got to say, as much as I want to go with the Vikings, because I actually think it's the exact right spot, they are like primed. They are a much better team than their record represents. I like ugly. I like sad. I like bad. I want to be miserable on Sunday afternoons. Give me the Pittsburgh Steelers plus 6.5 against the Green Bay Packers. All right. I promised we were going to do a little more Bucks Patriots. We put a poll into the Twitterverse. We asked you to tell us who you think is going to cover. The Bucks at -7, the Patriots +7. 65% of the fans, folks, believe that the Bucks are going to cover. Koerner, what do you think?
Yeah, obviously I like Brady tonight, but I'm projecting this Tampa Bay -5.5. So I think that the sharps are on the right side here. So I'm taking Pats +7.
Simon, what do you got?
Yeah, we loved it at +7. We were hoping and waiting that the professionals wouldn't come in so heavy on the +7 and let it get to 7.5, but they did, and they bet it down. So now it's down to 6.5 in most books. So hopefully you got the +7, but this is just a classic. If you believe in the sports books and what they do, this is how they make big money. You back the sports book here and you take that +6, +6.5.
Raybon, you going square?
I believe in myself more than the sports books. I have the number at +7. So I like the Bucks here. I mean, Sean kind of said it. Like, there's not major value for me on either side of this, in all seriousness. But Sean kind of pointed it out. If you think Tom Brady doesn't want to stick it to his former coach, you're crazy. But look at it this way. Both of these teams are coming off losses. They've historically been great, just like Tom, when, Belichick, Brady, excellent off losses. So Brady is 41-14 against the spread in his career off a loss. That is since 2003. That's 75%. Belichick, he's just 5-5 without Brady. So, that kind of shows who made who better here. I think Sean is saying Brady's going to throw for 350, 400. Passing efficiency correlates with point differential. So give me the Bucks here.
All right. Well, I can't wait for this game. This is going to be a game I think we all want to stay up late for. For the record, while Darren is giving the weather report, I'm in central Connecticut, about an hour from Foxborough. It's starting to get very dark and gray outside my studio window. Samantha Previte, you've been very, very patient. We appreciate it. Your fantasy news has been driving winners for the past 3 weeks. What do you got?
Yeah, Chad, I thought we were all getting jerseys that said gross on them because there are a lot of injuries once again. It's only week 4, guys. Receivers A.J. Brown and Julio Jones are both out today with hamstring injuries versus the Jets, leaving the Titans extremely lean at receiver. That's not good news for Chris Raybon's over 1.5 passing touchdowns, but he may need to lean on Westbrook Akina, who is a nice dart throw this week, though the more likely scenario is 50 touches and 300 yards for Derrick Henry. Let's be real. Steelers receivers Juju Smith-Schuster and Deontay Johnson, who are both all over the injury report this week, are expected to play this afternoon against the Packers. Chase Claypool, however, who is a late addition to the injury report, will not play. Vikings running back Dalvin Cook missed the week last week with a sprained ankle, but is expected to play this week versus the Browns, barring a pregame setback, according to Adam Schefter, which means he is an RB1, and you can probably put Alex Madison back on your benches. 49ers running back Elijah Mitchell will not play today versus the Seahawks with a shoulder injury, which means Trey Sermon gets one more chance for a Sunday sermon to fight for his job. Consider him a high-end flex play against Seattle's run defense. Buccaneers tight end Rob Gronkowski is out. And did you guys know that the Buccaneers and the Patriots are playing today? I didn't even know. But he won't play in the revenge match with multiple fractured ribs. It's certainly a disappointment, but should mean more targets for Bucs wide receivers Chris Godwin, Mike Edmonds, and Antonio Brown. And finally, Washington running back Antonio Gibson is listed as questionable with a shin injury and is expected to play, also barring a pregame setback in a spectacular matchup against the Falcons. He is a low-end RB1, high-end RB2.
By the way, the total on Samantha Previte making a Sunday morning wordplay will be set at half a wordplay going forward. Sean Koerner, you can back me up on that if you like. Gentlemen, let's get to the totals. Sean Koerner, you're up first. What do you got?
So I'm going to take a page out of Raybon's book here and give you a disgusting under 41.5. for the Colts Dolphins game. This has the potential to be a really ugly game. Carson Wentz is playing through 2 bad ankles here, and he's going to be without Quentin Nelson and Braden Smith to protect him. So this could be a disaster. And, the Dolphins blitz at the highest rate, 44% this season. They have managed to have the 6th highest pressure rate at 40%. So he could be under duress here. I think they're going to lean on Jonathan Taylor, the run game, really conservative game plan. Whereas, I see the Dolphins doing the same thing. They still have Jacoby Brissett under center. His 6.6 ADOT ranks as 7th lowest since he's taken over for Tua. This offensive line has been pretty good run blocking, but they've been kind of a disaster when it comes to protecting Brissett in the passing game. So unfortunately, the Colts secondary is atrocious, but I don't think the Dolphins can really take advantage of it here. I think they're going to be run heavy, conservative as well. So this is a game where if you're watching Red Zone, you'll forget that it's even playing because I just don't see many points here. I'm projecting this closer to 39.5. So I love getting key numbers 40 and 41 in this total. So give me the under 41.5 here.
Yeah, we call this in the betting business the Koerner TV game, meaning the bookmakers know nobody's watching it, nobody cares, but they're obligated to put it up. So they put it up on the smallest screen in the corner of the sports book, just so people who are betting on it, who really, really like disgusting things, they can watch it. But this is like the least interesting game of the day. Simon, please tell me something more interesting than this.
I do not have a more interesting than this. I'm back on a Bears under. Last week we talked about it. We liked the Bears under with the Cleveland game. That was pretty much a no sweat. Going back to the well again. We have another weather game where the rain's coming in pretty hard and steady in Chicago. It's a little bit off and on, but it's going to be going on all day. We saw Jared Goff playing the weather before against Green Bay. He had 0 points in that second half. We don't know what's going on with the Bears offense. It seems like Matt Nagy is like kind of taking a stand here and saying, I'm not catering my offense to Justin Fields, which is insanity. So for me, this number should be 39. I feel like we're getting anything above 40 is a good number. Again, it's a NFC North kind of slug it out battle, just both teams that want to run the ball. So as long as it stays above 40, I really like this under.
You don't think that at this point, given what we've seen from Matt Nagy, given the criticism, that he would adjust the game plan a little bit? You think he went through the entire week thinking, okay, I'm going to do the exact same thing I did the week before with Justin Fields?
Yeah, he seems like the kind of guy that blames the players and not what he's doing. Again, the fact that he didn't adjust it in the first place last game was alarming. It was the most bizarre thing. I watched that game twice now, Chad. No one in the world's probably watched that game twice. It is horrible what Nagy did with Fields. So unless he puts him in better position this week, I think we're going to see a lot of the same what happened last week. Just the Bears defense, I project them to be better this week against this Lions offense.
All right. Well, right now, you guys are basically saying do gross things, bet gross things on unders. Raybon, what do you got?
I can't believe that. I am going with the under here, but I can't believe it's actually a higher one than Simon or Sean. They kind of cornered the market this week, but I am going under 44.5 in Jets Titans. And for a couple of reasons. Number one, the obvious, the Titans are without AJ Brown and Julio Jones. They've never been, a team that's going to go pass heavy unless they have to anyway. They're facing a Jets team that's averaging under 7 points per game. The Jets are averaging under a touchdown a game scoring so far. And the Titans, a lot of people look at their defense and say, well, this is just a god-awful defense. This is why the Jets are going to kind of rebound. But the Titans are actually number 2 in the league in pass defense success rate on early downs, which is very predictive. So what's been happening to the Titans is they've been giving up big plays on like third down. And look who they played. They played Kyler Murray and they played Russell Wilson. Zach Wilson is not like either of those guys. It's going to be more like, that 25-16 game they played against the Colts last weekend. And the Jets have actually been pretty decent on defense. They're 16th in DVOA, 17th in early down success rate on defense. So Saleh has these guys playing well, considering their talent level is still, I would say, bottom 5 overall on defense. So I think you're just going to see a ton of Derrick Henry. We still don't know if the Jets could score, and I think the Titans defense is a little better than people think. So I like this down to 43.
So all season long, the request from you, the analysts, has been bet gross unders. And I think we've won a couple times. betting the unders of the lowest totals on the board. It's a trend I think I have to go with. So I am going to go with the Bears Lions and the under 42. I'm going to be watching that game. I might as well have some kind of vested interest outside of the Lions +3, which I got. And I agree with Simon. This is going to be a terrible slugfest NFC North game. Go Lions under 42. So to recap, my picks from what I have been convinced by our panelists, Tom Brady over 305.5 passing yards. Smash it, smash it, smash it, says Sean Koerner. Raybon, I'm with you, man. Give me the ugly. Give me rah-rah Mike Tomlin. This is his spot. Steelers +6.5. Simon, out of solidarity, I'm going with you and the Bears Lions under 42. Woo! That is a lot to wrap up right there, folks. Samantha, let's go back to you. Who should we start? Who should we sit?
I'm going to give you guys 3 stars and 3 sits for this week, starting with Jalen Hurts versus the Chiefs. Hurts actually had an off game this past Monday night, but still finishes QB9. He is QB4 this season behind only Kyler Murray, Tom Brady, and Patrick Mahomes. Like you said, it's not always pretty, but he gets the job done for fantasy. He faces the Chiefs defense, which ranks dead last in points allowed this season. This should be a strong bounce back for Hurts and the entire Eagles offense. You are starting Odell Beckham at the Vikings. He looked like vintage OBJ in his season debut, returning from a torn ACL. He is a wide receiver 2 this week and a positive matchup against a soft Viking secondary, especially with Jarvis Landry on injured reserve. You are starting Zach Moss versus the Texans. I never fully bought into Devin Singletary as the RB1 in this offense. Even when Moss was benched in week 1, Moss returns in week 2, and he's had 3 touchdowns over the last 2 games. The Bills face the Texans JV defense this week, which makes Moss an attractive low-end RB2. You are sitting Dak Prescott versus the Panthers. So Prescott is QB 15 through 3 weeks. His passing attempts have been low, as have his rushing attempts. He had 0 attempts versus the Chargers. It appears he will be playing a little bit more conservatively than we are used to as he recovers from this gruesome ankle injury and faces the Panthers, who have been the top defense according to DVOA. There's a good chance you can't sit Prescott, but you probably wish you could. You are sitting Leonard Fournette versus the Patriots. I am saying start all the pass catchers, but the running game is pretty rough. Rojo was named the team's week 2 starter, only to be outtouched by Fournette 7-15. Fournette seemed to have the job and then just saw 7 touches for 34 yards in week 3. So best of luck trying to play Russian roulette with this backfield. He is a volatile RB3. And then finally, you're sitting Mike Gesicki versus the Colts. The Mike Gesicki experience has been quite the roller coaster this season. Bageled in week 1, 0 catches, did almost nothing in week 2. I was ready to drop Gesicki. Then out of nowhere, he catches 10 passes for 86 yards in week 3. Though worth noting, a lot of that came late in the game and in overtime. He will be tempting to start after that, but it just feels like fool's gold to me.
Did you say rushing roulette?
I said Russian roulette, but I like that better. Rushing roulette.
I am going to give you credit for rushing roulette because that is just amazing. Also, by the way, I feel like it was last week when you said start Mike Williams and then Mike Williams went off. Good news from Samantha. Darren, please update us.
Well, it appears, we want to speak to our sponsor here, BetMGM, and I am finding that the only place, at least in New Jersey, I can get the Pittsburgh Steelers at +6.5 at -105 is BetMGM. So pound that if you so desire. Wanted to talk about the biggest bets of the week. Right now, Caesars is giving us a bevy of them. 500,000 on the Bills -16.5, which is unfortunate because you're going to bet $500,000. You'd like to try to hit the best number there. 500,000 on Pats +7 and 300,000 on the Cardinals +6. And noteworthy bet, because I always love these bets. Someone has bet $95,000 on the Bills to win straight up to pay the worst money line offering of the season. I think it's like -13 or 1,400 on that. So you're getting about 4,500 net should that happen. Some people say, hey, banks don't give you that percentage and it's in 3 hours. Other people say that is the stupidest thing. And other people say money laundering.
All right, let's recap. Sean Koerner, you're on Tom Brady over 305.5 passing yards to set a record for most career passing yards in the NFL. Tonight against his old team, the Patriots, you're on the Vikings. +2. It started 2.5, went down to 2. Now it's a +1. You still like it. You're on the Colts in Miami under 42. Simon Hunter, you're on James Conner of the Cardinals under 30.5 rushing yards. You're on Denver -1. That has also moved aggressively over the 0 from Broncos underdog to Broncos favorites. Bears Lions under 42. Bear down. Robbie Anderson, Chris Raybon, you like Robbie Anderson over 46.5 receiving yards. You like the rah-rah Pittsburgh Steelers +6.5 against the Packers. And the New York Jets and the Tennessee Titans under 44.5 total points. Lots of ugliness, but we're going to turn that ugliness into something lovely. We're all going to help you win today. Good luck to everybody. We will see you next week on Convince Me. Till then.